Hi, I thought I'd just stop by and show you how to make some really simple Tyvek beads, which are great for decorating textile projects, but I've also used them to make things like earrings. Oops, drop that on there. Combining them with sort of bought beads, and they're really simple to make, so let's get going. Now, the first thing you're going to need is some Tyvek, and if you're not sure what Tyvek is, it's polyethylene. It's a man-made fibre. It's often used in construction industry or for museum conservation, but it comes in sort of a soft fabric type of Tyvek, and that's often used for like scene of crime suits. But you may also have come across it as an envelope because it's used for fairly indestructible envelopes. So you can buy the suits on eBay, the envelopes are available at stationers, and you can use either type. I'm going to be working with the soft type, and you're going to want to paint it. So it will take pretty much any water-based paints, but I've used fabric paints here with some metallic in as well. These are Lumiere paints. This one actually it's not a shiny paint. This one was probably just like a silk paint. So you need to paint it both sides with a water-based paint. You're then going to cut your Tyvek into long strips. These are about 10 inches long, which is about, I think, 27 centimetres long, and about 2 centimetres or almost an inch, not quite an inch wide. And then you're going to need something like a knitting needle, a metal knitting needle, not a plastic one. That's important. Now, I don't know if any of you have made these sort of paper beads where you rolled up strips of paper when you were children, but that's exactly what you're going to do here. So holding the Tyvek around the knitting needle, you're going to roll it. So I'm looking here, I might put my golden bit on the outside, or because this side is plain and the gold's on the other side. I quite like the idea of the gold on that side. So I'm doing on fingers and thumbs now. There we are, got it going. So you're just going to roll that up fairly tightly. Whoops. Once you get going, it's usually all right. Yep, there we are. All the way around your knitting needle. And then when it's rolled up, if it's not thick enough, you can always add another strip in the same colour or a different colour, or you could have started and held 2 strips together to begin with to make a thicker bead. I think I'm probably going to roll another strip of green around mine to make it a bit thicker. And then when you've finished rolling the Tyvek around your needle, you're going to tie it in place with something like a rayon thread. I'm just going to get that going. This is always easier to say than actually do. But you tie that round. So I've tied the thread around and I've tied it off. It did take me about 3 or 4 attempts. It's one of those things where you need an extra pair of hands, really. So I'm just going to snip off those long loose threads. Oh, our village clock is chiming, which you can probably hear. No, it was only 2 chimes, so maybe you didn't. And then I'm going to use a metallic thread to do a few more threads wrapped around. It's important not to completely cover the Tyvek, but where you've got like dense areas of wrapping, this will offer some sort of resistance. As long as you're using something like a rayon or a metallic thread, do not use a polyester thread. Polyester threads will melt. So once you've finished wrapping your threads around the Tyvek, you can go on to the next stage, which is to heat it. But I like to add something else to it. And what I've got here is some machine wrapped wire. Now, I've threaded some tiny beads onto the wire first of all, and then with a free machine zigzag, I've wrapped over the wire, trapping the beads as I go. This is really something for another whole long video, so you don't have to trap them on. You could just thread some beads on, or you could skip this bit altogether. I just think it adds quite a nice little touch to have some wrapped beads. And again, you're just going to wrap that around the Tyvek bead, trapping it down, holding it as you go. So there we go. Sorry, I went right off camera there. So I'm just wrapping that around and tying it off together by twisting it. The sharp ends you can kind of tuck in afterwards. So I'm just going to get some wire cutters and trim those off. So just to recap, I've got strips of Tyvek wrapped around a knitting needle, a metal knitting needle. I've secured it by wrapping threads around, not polyester threads, and then I've added some beaded wire, which I have machine wrapped. That's an optional part. And then you're going to need your heat gun or craft tool. This is not the same as a hairdryer, it's very hot, so be careful with your fingers and make sure the surface you're working on is not going to burn. And this is going to make a noise, so I'm not going to be able to talk while I do this, but you're going to heat it fairly close, about that close, and turn it, and the Tyvek will gradually start to melt, and the more you heat it, the more it melts away, so it's about knowing when to stop really. So I'm just going to do that now. I don't know if you can see this melting, but it is starting to. And there you are. And while it's still quite hot, I tend to mould it with my fingers. You have to be a bit careful. You need asbestos fingers because the wire gets a bit hot, but also to dig those ends of the wire into the Tyvek while it's sort of soft and melted. And you can always go back and melt it a little bit more if it's not done enough, but I think that one looks quite effective. And while it's still warm and you can move it, you slide it off the knitting needle. And there you have it, a Tyvek bead.